Could the Kurds be about to change the Iran war? Who are they really, and why are they suddenly in the spotlight? Could they open a new front that drags not just Iran, but the entire Middle East into conflict? And what does this mean for the United States, Israel, and the region's fragile stability? Today we're going to answer every question. We'll break down the Kurdish groups, their history, what they want, their military capabilities, the risks, and how their involvement could reshape the war in ways nobody is prepared for. Let's cover the basics briefly that are necessary to understand this whole puzzle. The Kurds are one of the largest ethnic groups in the world without a state. Between 30 and 40 million strong, they live across Turkey, Syria, Iraq, and Iran. They speak their own language, have a distinct culture, and have fought for autonomy for centuries. Their story becomes crucial after World War I. When the Ottoman Empire collapsed, the Kurds were promised a homeland, but it never came. Borders drawn by foreign powers left them divided, often under governments hostile to their identity. In Iran, Kurds make up about 10% of the population, mainly in the northwest. Their regions have long seen unrest. Most recently, the death of Mahsa Amini, a young Kurdish woman, sparked nationwide protests. What began as a fight for women's rights quickly became a spotlight on long-standing Kurdish grievances. The Kurdish world is not a single entity. It is made of multiple groups, each with its own ideology, leadership, and strategy. The Kurdistan Democratic Party of Iran is the oldest and most established. Its goal is self-determination within Iran, not full separation. The Kurdistan Freedom Party has been the most active militarily, claiming multiple attacks on Iranian Revolutionary Guard positions in recent months. The Kurdistan Free Life Party, linked to Turkey's PKK, fields highly capable fighters, often including women, operating from the Kandil Mountains along the Iraq-Iran border. Smaller groups like Kabat and Kamala round out a coalition of armed forces. Recently, these groups formed a unified alliance to coordinate both politically and militarily, presenting a rare moment of Kurdish coordination against Tehran. Reports now suggest that the Trump administration and Israel are exploring the idea of supporting these Kurdish groups to create a new front against Iran. The goal is clear: stretch Iranian forces, force Tehran to divert troops to the northwest, and potentially inspire internal uprisings in Iran's major cities. U.S. and Israeli involvement could include intelligence sharing, aerial resupply, artillery support, and even small advisory units on the ground. But the Kurds are wary. History has taught them not to trust outside powers lightly. In 1991, after the Gulf War, the United States encouraged a Kurdish uprising in Iraq, then left them exposed to Saddam Hussein's retaliation. A similar pattern unfolded in Syria, when U.S. forces withdrew from SDFF-held territories, leaving Kurdish fighters cornered. These memories shape every decision Kurdish leaders make today. If Kurdish forces enter Iran, the implications stretch far beyond Tehran. Neighboring states are watching closely. Turkey, with its own large Kurdish population, sees armed Kurdish movements as a threat. Any gains in Iran could provoke Ankara to intervene or launch preemptive strikes. Iraq's Kurdish leaders, who have autonomy to protect and fragile relations with Iran and Turkey to maintain, have publicly refused to participate in cross-border fighting. Syria's Kurdish enclaves could also be drawn back into conflict. A Kurdish front in Iran could destabilize the entire region, inflame ethnic tensions, and create new theaters of war across the Middle East. The Kurdish forces themselves are lightly armed, but highly skilled and motivated. Most wield rifles, rocket-propelled grenades, and mortars, but elite units, including JAK's Eastern Kurdistan units and U.S.-trained counter-terrorism groups, operate with advanced small arms, night vision systems, and specialized tactics. They know the mountains of northwestern Iran intimately and can move quickly in small units. With U.S. or Israeli support, they could hold territory, create buffer zones, and pin down Iranian troops. Yet analysts warn they cannot advance deep into Iran. Their role is strategic, distraction, pressure, and leverage, not conquest. This is a classic proxy war. The Kurds provide a motivated local force that external powers can support without committing large numbers of troops. The U.S. can stretch Iranian forces, Israel can gain strategic depth, and the Kurds can leverage support for their autonomy, but only if they survive the fight. Covert cooperation has advantages. The US and Israel can influence events without overtly committing to war. But if Kurdish fighters are left exposed, the consequences could be severe, not just for them, but for northern Iraq and the region as a whole. Iran is already reacting. Iranian forces and militias have struck Kurdish positions in northern Iraq with drones and missiles. Any offensive could trigger further retaliation, including missile strikes on Kurdish-controlled areas, attacks on US and Israeli positions, and intensified internal crackdowns on Kurds inside Iran. Missteps could escalate the war, potentially drawing Turkey and other neighbors directly into the conflict. Iraqi Kurdish leaders are clear. This is not their war. They are focused on protecting their own autonomy, relationships, and energy infrastructure. While US pressure exists, overt involvement is off the table. Any cooperation would likely be discreet and conditional. History shows why caution is warranted. In 1991, Kurdish uprisings in Iraq following the Gulf War ended in massacre and exile when US support vanished. In Syria, Kurdish forces were abandoned when US strategy shifted, costing them territory and leaving them vulnerable. These experiences have made Kurdish leaders careful. They will demand political assurances and guarantees of safety before risking lives. The stakes are high for all sides. For the US, Kurdish involvement offers a low-cost way to pressure Iran, protect Gulf allies, and extend the battlefield. For Israel, it could create a buffer zone and weaken Tehran's influence. For Iran, it threatens territorial integrity, forces troop redeployments, and risks internal unrest. For the Kurds, it is an opportunity to assert autonomy, but a dangerous one, with the potential for devastating retaliation. The Kurds are not a monolith. They are multiple groups with separate goals, histories, and capabilities. Their entry into the Iran war could shift the battlefield, force Tehran to divide its forces, and influence US and Israeli strategies. It could also destabilize the region, provoke Turkey, strain Iraqi stability, and ignite broader ethnic tensions. The coming weeks will determine whether Kurdish forces cross the border, whether external powers provide covert or overt support, and whether Tehran responds with retaliation. The Kurdish angle adds a new, unpredictable layer to the conflict, one that could reshape not just Iran, but the Middle East itself. Their actions, alliances, and choices could become a turning point in the war, a moment where the entire region feels the ripple effects. The Kurds are here, they are organized, and they are cautious. They have history, they have strategy, and they have a coalition that rarely exists. How they act next could change everything, not just for Iran, but for the United States, Israel, and the fragile stability of the Middle East. This is not speculation. It is history unfolding in real time, with stakes higher than ever before.